Hey y'all, how you doing? Welcome back to Conversations from Paris. It's Tuesday. So how was your weekend? I know y'all really do get off on this idea of letting me talk to myself, and that's okay. Like I've just come to learn that it's gonna be some days that I might just be talking to myself. But I know y'all gonna come back and watch. So I'm just trying to make sure. You can always put it up, even if you want on the live right now. You can always let me know how you doing. How was your weekend? How was your day? Because I really am concerned. I really want to know. So, like, remember that. I'm really asking. My weekend, I just got back from Vegas, and I actually had a pretty good weekend. Just hanging out with some friends, and actually, I got a lot of rest. Rest was the prescription. Like I really feel like I was able to get the rest that I needed. So I was very excited about that. And it's like, have you ever got accidental rest? Like you really didn't even expect to get it. And so it was like a double whammy, like, oh wow, I got some rest. So I was very happy. I just shared. So can you guys please share? I would appreciate it. It would be very good. I just did my share to make sure it's on my page. Hey, mom. Um, and so if you could share as well, we can get started. And y'all know what to do. You know the drill. Come on and say hi so I can know you're here. And we're gonna get this party started. So let's see. What else? It is April 13th. Is there significance in that? No, I told you I just celebrated my 1 year. And it's so funny because all of my lives from last year are popping up. So I've been like watching my lives over and over again. Well, not like that sounds crazy, like saying over and over again, but I've been watching them. So it's been very interesting to watch yourself from a year ago and just see the growth and different things. So, but yeah, so let's get started. So, hey, Tracy. So, we've been talking. This has been our identity series, and I don't know if you guys saw me on Thursday. Yes, I was in the airport, and I'm sorry. I know it kind of looked weird. I know I seemed super distracted. I was like in the bridge from the train to the airport, and I wanted to go ahead. And still go live because I just talked about how I've been consistent, and I'm like, I'm not gonna miss. I missed the Tuesday prior, so I'm like, let me just still go live. And I talked about identity detoxing, and I thought that was really good. And I hope you got a chance to see it. If you didn't, you can always go back and watch it, of course. Hey, Mom Pat. You said your alarms weren't set, Tracy. Don't worry about it, girl. I appreciate you coming on. So it's like it's been very. I was just pushing through, right? Pushing through. Yeah, I'm going somewhere, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss up. So I actually, I still wanted to talk about the detoxing and just to piggyback off what I said. Whenever you're starting a new journey, whether it's a fitness journey, whether it's a journey into better health, any type of journey, even if you're about to go on a road trip, there are certain preparations that you make. And we are talking about this journey to identity. And so the detoxing is always necessary because what you have to do is take off any shells that are societal, shells that are familial, shells that are social group inspired, shells that are cultural, anything that is in excess of who you are. And the way that you know that you have those shells on is because we all do. Duh. We all have residual of what's around us. We talked about environment and about nurturing, and what nurture means that the environment adds to, and it makes you part of who you are. Like if you're somebody that grew up on a farm, there's a certain firm culture, that type of community has a certain culture. So, there are pieces of that culture that automatically are on you, whether or not you choose to keep them on you, they're just on you. And even if you want to detach from that, you have to somewhat detox those things. So that's what we talked about last week. So if you didn't see it, go back and watch that. And so today, I definitely wanted to talk about something I thought was super important when we start talking about this and start the journey, because that's the whole goal, right? Just getting to it, because identity is so, I just feel like I don't even want you to say a foundation. Your identity is literally what you're composed of. And it is something we have to be super clear about. And if we're not clear, it shows up in every part of our life. So I'm just super passionate about it. So today, and I don't know if you guys saw my advertisement, but roadblocks to identity. And then you're saying, well, Paris, what do you mean roadblocks to identity? What are you talking about, right? What roadblocks can come up? Well, I think we talked about this before when things in life happen. And I talked about something that it had nothing to do with identity, but it talked about things that can come up and stop you in your tracks, stuff that you didn't expect that would stop you and detour you some way, and how to make sure how you rebound from the thought of that, right? And not stop just because something came up, and actually do better by detouring. This is a little different. When I talk about roadblocks, the thing that came up was, again, we're talking about a journey. And there are times where you are starting your journey and you're going to come up against a roadblock. The hard part about going somewhere that you don't know where you're going is you don't know a detour. You don't know a detour. You're literally are traveling to this place. It's almost like, think of Indiana Jones, like the movie, or like think about some type of secret island and you're looking for something. You're following this, you're looking for clues, context clues to figure out what the next thing. Have you ever been to an escape room? And you literally, they give you one clue and then it's supposed to lead to another clue. Same idea. It's kind of how this journey is going to be. That's good. I'm glad that God gave me that analogy. Sorry. Because I think it's very similar in the fact that the clues that you get are going to take you to your next clue, which is going to take you to your next clue. And it's almost like you're unlocking pieces of yourself as you're on the journey. And so as we're going down this road, we're journaling, we're traversing down this road. The reality is that there are going to be things that come up that are roadblocks. And in the past, these things might have stopped you, but I'm going to help you figure out, identify what they are, and be able to basically strategize your way out of that roadblock. So let me give you an example. When we're talking about identity, there are so many different pieces. And I told you the one that I wanted us to focus on at the beginning is our moral set, our belief system, our value set, what we really believe in. And I told you, if you did not know how to start understanding what you believe in, you definitely need to write down and be very clear about what you don't believe in. That's sometimes the easier way. Because once you start to define, all you need is a border. Okay? So start to define what you are. Definitely talk about what you're not. That's just a really good way to do it. Hey, JC, it is a really good way to start. So when you start to get clear about this moral compass, this value set, this is a really big part of your identity. You might start to realize that you hit up against something and you looking for clues. And this roadblock is so big that it literally stops you in your tracks. And I know I'm the queen of the detour and figure out how to get around it. But there are some times where you're trapped. You literally cannot go through the thing. You can't go around the thing. You literally have to deal with it. Does that make sense? I'm doing this because I'm envisioning a big boulder. I'm envisioning a narrow road and literally a big boulder that dropped on the road, maybe from a landslide or something. And this big boulder keeping you from being able to go forward. And you cannot pretend like that boulder's not there. You can't go around it. So guess what you have to do? You have to figure out how to deal with this boulder. And you're like, Paris, you're speaking, here we go, speaking in these like, theoretical terms. And y'all know how I talk. But I need you to understand the boulder can be anything. So let me give some examples of what boulders are. One thing that boulder can be that I've noticed is overthinking. Overthinking. I'm a very analytical person. I'm somebody that definitely believes that you need to use your intelligence and your mind to get to the next stage. But let me tell you something. When you are journeying to identity, one of the first things you need is a little bit of vulnerability. You have to use vulnerability, the ability to open up in order. You see that? You see I did that? To open up. I'm sorry, I'm kind of visual right now. I need y'all to see that. You have to open yourself up in order to do the investigating. You can't go down the road with your arms closed and, like this. That means you're closed off. You're not able to receive. That's not how you work. When you're on a journey, anybody knows if you're doing a hike or anything like that, they tell you to have your hands free. They try to tell you to have a book bag on or like a fanny pack, and so that you have the things you need, but your hands need to be free. You never know if you have to get something out the way. You never know what you need to do. You never know if you're about to fall and need to fall onto your hands. Your hands are it's necessary to keep them open. It's necessary to keep them free. So what does that matter, Paris? It matters because when we're talking about overthinking and having a super analytical mind, the mind can be something that can hold you back, because when you are overthinking and too logical, you are not allowing the things to come out your abundance of your heart. You're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open to the process. And I found, this is just part of my testimony, I found that that was a huge part of my issue. I thought that I could outthink any situation, anything. I could use my mind to think it through and, plot it out and plan it. And I did not allow or give room for me to do it a different way. I didn't ever allow a flow. And I didn't think that was possible. And I know you're thinking, well, how is that a roadblock, Paris? You still haven't told me anything. Well, so for example, part of my journey definitely was becoming a more vulnerable person, because in vulnerability, there's truth. In vulnerability, you can let go of things that you've been holding on to. And so I did, it's almost like letting a wall down. Remember we talked about detoxing? This is probably a slight continuation of that, because when you're detoxing, another thing you can call it is deconstructing. When you're deconstructing a wall, in that process, you start to look at what this wall was really created from, or why it was created. And in that process, it is super necessary to look at why you have that wall built up so high and what all is keeping things out. And so this is good. I'm getting some more visuals. I'm a visual learner. So like, for example, I said maybe that rock came from a mudslide, or maybe I'm journeying through the woods of my life, and maybe there was some wall and, a big wall up, and this boulder came down and it's now in my way. I cannot go forward because parts of my wall that I built up from years and years ago is in front of me, and I can't move forward because it's just that big. And what I was hoping is that wall, when I deconstructed it, it was like small pebbles and that I could just brush it out the way. But some things are such, oh, this is really good. I hope y'all hearing this analogy. Some things are such a big thing in our life that it presents as potential roadblock. So in that case, for me, my mind and my over analytical skills or my logical thinking or my practicality literally kept me from being able to be fully open. I'll give you an example of how that shows up. Like, y'all ever go to church and y'all hear the minister speaking, or you hear the worship music going on, and you like this, the church like, and you literally don't feel anything. You kind of looking around, and if anybody's in one of the Black churches, like people doing all this stuff, and you're like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, why they have to do all that? I'm not saying that has to be your style, but for me, even when I knew when I had a roadblock up is when I was in that environment, and I did enjoy the environment, but I was not able to let go. I was not able to participate because I didn't feel any freedom to participate. I felt very, I'm trying to show y'all how I felt. I felt very like boxed in, very just not free. I felt clutched. Like, you ever see somebody clutch their purse when you walk past? Like, I felt very bound. Bound is the word. I felt very bound, and I didn't feel free to participate. I had different judgments about it. I would say things like, well, no, I'm not doing that. What if I do that and people are looking at me like I'm looking at them? You get what I'm saying? Or like, I'll give you, sorry, that was church. Well, let me give you another example. I like to dance, and I remember sometime I would be places and I was like, oh my God, that music is so good, but I'm not going to dance and draw attention to myself. And I don't want people to look at me crazy or think I'm nuts, so I'm not going to do that. And I remember I would just hold back like, okay, let me just be dignified enough. Or there used to be times where I would find something funny and humorous, or some story would be really good, and I would notice everybody else around me kind of not really feeling it, not really engaging, and I would keep myself from engaging as well because I didn't want it to look like I was the outcast or that I was crazy because I felt this way. Or I even get another one. I used to watch Grey's Anatomy, and I remember I used to cry when certain, almost every episode used to be like that for Grey's Anatomy for me. And people used to like joke about it, like, oh, you look at you crying for no reason. And I remember I stopped watching those type of shows around certain people because I didn't want to hear that, because I just was like, see, look, it happens, and I try to open up, and I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough to open up. And so, I'm just going a little further about this over analytical mind. This is a roadblock I've seen so many times. It's not just me. I know y'all thinking Paris just talking about her. No, I'm using myself as an example. But I see so many people, even when they go to therapy, even when they are doing self-work, the reason that they can't get any breakthrough is because they have their whole life clenched so tight. They have to look like they're in control at all points. They have to be in control. No weakness, no vulnerability. They intertwine the words weakness and vulnerability. I used to. And they definitely feel like I can show. What did they used to say? Don't wear your emotions on your sleeve. Remember they used to say stuff like that? Don't let them see you sweat. Don't let them know it affects you. And I understand the reason for all of that. I believe that's at a certain points in times it's necessary. But I believe that sometimes we put all of the armor on and we forget to take it off when the war is over. That's so good. We put the armor on and we forget to take it off. And so sometimes you wonder why you're exhausted and why you're tired and why you can't move forward. It's because there's too much on you. It's too heavy. You were never meant to carry all of that stuff. Have you ever seen armor that's for I don't want to use the word soldiers, but maybe that's what it's called. Like in the medieval times, they have the metal armor, the breastplate, and all that stuff, and the helmet, and the big shoes, and this big clunky. That stuff was always really heavy, and so, but it was supposed to protect them, and so they had to put on that heavy armor to protect them from the fight. But when the fight is over, they're supposed to take it off because it's not something you just wear to sleep or you wear to go eat or anything. As soon as you get done with the fight, you take it off. And I sojourn that as we are in life, we have forgot to take certain armor off. We fought and maybe we had the armor on because it was necessary, and we don't realize that that armor is still on us, or we're using it incorrectly. You ever went to the gym and somebody told you, like, oh, I'm doing push-ups, and they say that's you're doing it all wrong, or you lifting weights, and they say you're messing all up. Hey, cousin Karen, the reality is that if you do something wrong, you're not getting the benefit of it, and it can also become a hindrance. So when I'm talking about critical thinking or overthinking or using your brain or using your logic or your practicality, literally in this journey to who you are, if you are upholding wrong structures, and again, you don't always know what the wrong structures are because you remember you try to figure out who you are. You literally can hold on to things and keep it closed. And I'm no, that's all mine. It's all mine. It's all mine. It's all mine. And you literally won't get far. And that's what the roadblock can be, is your own mind. Not because of anybody else. It's because you literally won't put things down. You literally will not open yourself up to the process. The example, when I go on vacations, I don't plan a lot of stuff. I used to. I used to have everything planned out. At 8 a.m., we're going to do this. At 9 a.m., we're going to do this. At 11 a.m., I did all of that because I wanted to make sure I got everything I wanted done. But what I found is that things started to become very regimented, and it was just dum, 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 dum. And for me, the type of traveler I am now, unless I have never been somewhere before, I want to be able to explore. And maybe I can schedule one or two things, but then put some space in between them so that if I'm enjoying something, I don't have to rush away from it to get to the next thing. That's what I found myself doing. I had so many things planned that I wasn't really fully enjoying the space and the time because I had to rush to the next thing. Does that make sense? So I found it where I like a combination of some practical things and some planned things, but I also like to have the availability, the option to do nothing. If I really want to lay down, I want to just lay down and not feel guilty about it or that I wasted time. And the same thing should happen. And the same thing is necessary to happen when we're talking about this journey to identity. You cannot walk into the journey and say, you know what, I'm trying to figure out who I am. Oh, but I know who I am. And I know who I this and you walk in with these preconceived notions, which is why we talked about detoxing to make sure you took off anything that you didn't do. Hey, sister, how are you? Love you. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't do that, right? That's what the detoxing was. But I want to go a little further. A lot of times you you won't detox from something that you don't really think is not part of you, right? You won't detox from it. Like I'll give you, y'all know I gotta give y'all examples of me. So like a part of me, I don't even know if I want to say this on live. Yeah, I'll say it, I don't care. I really felt like I was a little bit more, let me use the word. I felt like I wasn't as feminine as most women. And I don't know if I want to say that right. I hope nobody's screenshotting that. But I'll say this, or voice clipping that. I'll say I wasn't a girly girl. I wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I didn't wear makeup all the time. I didn't wear heels every day. I didn't wear a purse. Like my family can tell you, I didn't wear a purse for years. Years I didn't wear a purse. I was like, no. I just started wearing lipstick. This is all new for me. And I just like to be comfortable, right? And so I didn't, I could dress up and go to church on Sunday, or if I'm going out, I can dress up. But the rest of the time, I was just like, no, it's not me. And so I really didn't, I think I used to detach myself from what I thought, and this is what I thought in the past, so don't judge. Well, y'all can judge me if y'all want to, but this is what I thought. I didn't want to be the high maintenance girly girl ever. Because when I used to see that, it was a turnoff for me. And I felt like it was manufactured, right? And I was like, nope. And then, so like, go with my logic. I used to feel like people did that, they overdid that, and that downplayed their brain. I'm just being honest about me. Whether that's, I now know that's not true, but I used to feel that way. And so I used to say, I don't have to do all that. I don't need to do all that, blah, 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 blah. And so that was a part of so the anti-girly girl, that was a part of my identity that I was going to carry with me on my journey. Does that make sense? I hope y'all getting that. So I thought I detoxed from everything, but I was carrying that like it was a badge of honor, because this is who I know I am. This is part of me. This is who I am. And on this beautiful journey to identity, I happened to realize that I do have a piece of my femininity that was always there, but I had these notions in my head that being super beautiful and done up and what some might consider high maintenance would diminish my value intellectually, diminish people's respect for me in decision-making situations, and I thought it would play down my intelligence. Can you hear what I'm saying there? So you see, I hope that was a good example. And so because of that, I took that with me, and that was something I was holding until I got to a roadblock and I couldn't go anymore there. And I had to realize what's holding me back. What's holding me back? And it was one of these things was a lie. Hey, Alicia, girl, how are you? Mama Pat, you say you understand that was you as well, as far as not being like the girly girl. Like, listen, that was a real big thing for me. And I bet you, I could tell y'all one day the full story of how it played into my identity for sure. But it was a real thing about like all types of stuff. I was made of God about a lot of stuff too, right? So here it goes. Mom Pat, you said, who said we had to conform to what society say? It's best to be who we are. Absolutely. Absolutely. And there is a such thing. I told you about the gender norms, right? A girl should do this. The girls should cook and clean. The boys, they should be able to fix things. Now, I buck against all that stuff. I do. I don't believe that one or other. I think every human should know how to cook. Every human should know how to clean. I believe every human should know how to change the oil on their car. Yes, ladies, I do feel like you should do it, be able to do it. I know y'all like, well, no, we should let a man do it. Okay. I'm just saying, I don't, I should know how to change a tire, because if I'm stranded, I should know how to do it. That's my personal beliefs. Everybody don't believe that. They think that you're being masculine if you have to learn that. I'm just saying that this is something, I think that certain things don't have to be one way or another. They can be a bit more neutral, but you have to be honest about those things. So part of my identity that I was holding on to was the idea that I was the anti-girly girl. And it wasn't until I really started getting deep into this, I was able to realize it became a roadblock for me. And I had to confront that thing head forward and get to the nitty gritty. So you know how, like, I don't want to use the word onion, but like a orange, you can't eat the orange, just bite it. You have to actually like peel it or cut it or something to get inside to the good part. It was the same thing. This is a lie. And I needed to figure out what was at the base of it. What was there? And I found out it was the idea that I had to trade my intelligence for my beauty. And I didn't want, and then it was I'll tell you, it was a little deeper. I had to think about the fact that it was a self-worth thing. So I saw a meme that was so good. It said, for you women who say that you're low maintenance, is it really that you're low maintenance, or is it that you don't think you're worthy enough for people to put up to make a fuss over you? And when I tell you I felt attacked, you hear me? When I tell you I felt attacked, I was like, wow. So that I realized that was a self-worth issue for me. I wanted to be low maintenance because I heard men talk about how high maintenance women were a whole lot to deal with, and I wanted to be chose worthy. So I wanted to be opposite of that. And so then I create these constructs and stuff, right? And so that's something I had to realize for myself. And so again, it's so many different roadblocks it can be, but this is me trying to help dig in so you can figure out what your roadblock is going to be. Everybody's often different. Let's see. Hey Reggie, how are you? You said, how often do you reevaluate or reassess your identity because who we are changes over time? That is, come on, Reggie, don't come in here with these like heavy questions right away. No, that's absolutely a great question. We're at the beginning of the identity process, and the reality is, as you're journeying to identity, you have to constantly reassess, right? Because guess what? Like I said, I thought that was part of my identity, and I held on to it. It was like a backpack. I wore that as a badge. But the reality is that was something I had to shed before I went to the next step. And until I was able to understand that, if I never looked at that thing again, I would have, what's the word I want to use? I would have been stuck in a certain place because I would have put too much value on some things and then not enough values on others, right? And then I would have, the lens that I saw life through, I definitely wouldn't have been able to walk through certain doors. Let me give you an example. Doing this live, okay, I'm a real picky person. So I used to have an issue when I first, how people saw me and how I was like, oh my God, I wonder what people are going to say. What are they going to look at me, pick me apart? Ooh. And so I remember as I started to do it, I was like, I'm really critical of myself sometimes. And I'm like, I didn't want to do this because of certain things. And I remember one of my mentors said to me, I guess I had like this cool head on. I just started wearing these glasses. And he was like, hey, I feel the need to tell you this. The style that you got going on is really unique and it's really cool. And I need you to keep that because that's part of your draw. And I remember like, because again, I was very self-conscious quietly, nobody knew. And so I remember digging into what that was. Again, when these things come up, you really need to deal with them as they come up because they're coming up for a reason. And I remember thinking, why does this bother me so much? Like, why is this a big deal? And as I dug into that thing, I was able to kind of figure it out. And so if I did not deal with that identity issue from before, I probably could have not received what he said because I could have been thinking, oh, he's saying that because he's a man and he's saying that because I'm a woman. And now they're over sexualizing the thing. You see, if my mind wasn't right, if I didn't reassess earlier, I would have possibly taken that wrong. And saying, well, or I could have been combative or defensive and said, well, it doesn't matter what I have on. It doesn't matter what I wear and how I am viewed physically, as long as what I'm saying is right. And I would have missed it because what he ultimately ended up saying is that you draw them with the style and the image and you keep them with what you said in your mouth. And I was just like, wow, that's so dope. That's so dope. And I never saw it that way before. So I'm sorry, Reggie. I know it kind of sounded like I was going somewhere else, but I did try to answer your question as far as how often do you reassess? Regularly. As you're on the road, you don't know. But I think that sometimes when you feel like you have to stop, you don't have to stop. So like we're talking about the roadblock. And I said that in particular roadblock could have been the whole overthinking. That type of thing will stop you, because you're literally not able to conceptualize or visualize a way forward. And it's something in front of you that's stopping you. And so, you need to definitely be able to address it and pick it apart and, turn it around. And somebody told me, question everything. This thing that we do to our kids that we don't want them, when they ask questions, we get annoyed. And I know because we're adults and, we get tired sometimes and the kids are going on and on. And, they're in that 3 age and that 4 age, they want to ask a million questions. I know I probably did not do that well during that period of time with my son because I used to be like, oh my God, he wants to ask a million questions. But they're inquisitive. and they're learning and their brain is moving so fast and they're getting so many things and they're processing it. I mean, that's like probably the highest level of what their brain activity is. And so they're asking questions to try to define all of these thoughts in their mind. And it's actually highly fascinating. Now that I'm in psychology, I'm able to pick those things apart and see it. And so one of my professors said is that we have to go back to the point where we stopped asking questions. You're never supposed to lose that. Some of the most famous inventors, the most geniuses in life, they question everything. And we got to get back to a point where we question everything, not in a defiant way, not in a rebellious way, not even a disrespectful way, but in a saying, you know what, I'm trying to find something out. So I need to know the answer. It's enough of just going with things with the flow because that's what you think, or it's enough of doing things that you don't know why you're doing them. The worst thing in the world is when I ask somebody why they're doing something and they cannot tell me. That is a problem for me. Old school used to ask, why, and sometimes our parents used to say, because I said so, and I understand that. I absolutely get why they had, why they did that. But because sometimes kids can drill, so it's really not an answer. Maybe you don't know the answer to. I've also started to give myself grace to be able to say, I don't know that right now, but I'll find out, or I'll point you to somebody that does. But that inquisitive thing, we should never really lose that, because it's the easiest way to get to the bottom of a lie, or it's the easiest way to figure out when you're in a bind why you're there. If something triggers you, you really need to get to the points of why it triggered you. And if it points to anybody else but you, then you're not really being honest. Because at the bottom of every trigger, there's something for you there. Okay? There's something for you to fix in every trigger. A trigger tells you less about the person that triggers you and tells you more about why it triggers you. Y'all, I'm telling you, that's one of the best lessons I ever learned, is that the triggers, I used to be like, oh, man, I know there's the people that trigger me and I know the things that trigger me. But I did not realize in every trigger, there's something about me that I need to understand why that thing is triggered. Why am I wired that way? What's sitting there that I allow this trigger to happen and I have not resolved? So I can at least know and be aware of what I have to work on. And most of us don't work on it because we're not aware. So we're trying to get to this road of identity, right? We're trying to get into the road, down this road, journeying to the version of us that is, full of, purpose and potential, and our moral values and our sets and, our competence and all those things. Well, in order to get to the truth of those things, you have to be willing to really look at why you are constructed the way you are. And if you cannot explain something that you're doing, then you have to pull it apart and dispose it. Okay? You just have to. Whenever you're cleaning up, don't you go through stuff and you find something, you like, what is this? This is actually my thing for my teeth. But my point is, I'm just using it as a prop. What is this? I don't even know what this is for. Y'all know what this is for? Y'all know this. It's going in the garbage. You know why? Because you realize that you have things that might not serve a purpose anymore in your life or in your environment. And if you keep everything, y'all have watched that show called Hoarders. Hoarders is so fascinating to me. People get real disgusted with it, but I'm fascinated because I think now I realize everything for me is I like how the brain works. And so I'm always interested to see, like, why do they do that? Or what's behind that? And what kept them there? And how could they live this way? And no judgment. It's fascinating to me. And so, but one of the things they teach you in Hoarders is that, and I mean, let's be honest, we all have kept things way longer. I know I have, and I still have it. That's why we have to do spring cleaning. That's why we go through stuff. And I remember I had a big dump last year. I had a whole dumpster full of stuff that was in my garage that I brought to my house from my apartment 7 years ago. I mean, and I remember when I had somebody helping me, And I was like, well, let's go to the garage. And they stopped me and they said, how long has that stuff been in the garage? I said, ooh, majority of it has been there since I got the house about 7 years ago. And you know, they said, oh, that's easy. And I said, well, what's easy about it? They said, if you haven't looked at it in 7 years, you don't need anything. I said, well, you don't know, I might need it. And they said, if you haven't looked at it or used it in 7 years, you don't need it. And I'm telling you, that was the hardest lesson for me to realize, was that I don't care if something had value. If you haven't looked at it, if it's not something that's obvious, we're throwing it away. If you haven't worn it in a year or two, we're throwing it away. And that was so hard for me. I'm not a hoarder, but I think it's because, you know, when you've ever not had something, you're like, oh, well, I want to reuse everything. You know, I want to recycle everything. I want to be a good steward over what I have. I don't want to seem like I'm not appreciative. So I was like not able to let go. And it's funny because let me tell y'all, Hoarders is a good show because I get so many psychological process things from that show. Because while you're judging them about them holding on to things in their house, how many things are we holding on into in our heart? How many emotions and events are we hoarding? Is hoarding a word? How many things are we keeping and we didn't let go? And now you're looking down the line 20 years ago. I mean, you're looking down there trying to clean up and you're showing somebody a bag of chips that you had from 20 years ago that you never wanted to throw away. And so on TV, it looks silly to you when you see that person, but you cannot see how you're still holding on to something that happened 20 years ago, or held on to something that happened 5 years ago, or how you are holding on to something that you're mad at somebody that's dead. Or you're holding on to something that you never said anything about to somebody that you're in regular relationship with, but you never spoke of it. And so you're silently battling and holding on to it. You're a hoarder. I know y'all didn't expect me to go there, but it's befitting when we talk about roadblocks. So these are things that get in the way of you getting to who you really are. These are some of the things that can come up. And I'm going to go back to the mind, the brain again, because, and to the vulnerability thing is because literally, if you're not willing to be open, if you're not willing to explore everything, if you're not willing to get into the nitty gritty and go down into stuff, if you're not willing to be transparent, if you're not willing to be an open book and go and look at things and evaluate and question everything, you literally need to question every single thing. Why did I buy this? Or why do I have this? Or why do I hold on to this thought process if I'm not willing, if I'm not using it actively? You know, here's another thing with faith. If you are in, I don't know if I'm gonna say faith, I'll say culture. Like, you know, I remember when I went to college, somebody asked me why I did something. And this is something I always did. And I was like, well, I don't know. It's because I've always done it. And that held up for a little while. And then that person said, but I mean, really, why are you doing it? It just seems like it's silly. And I didn't have an answer. And at first it wasn't bothering me at first, but then it really bothered me because I said, anything that I need to have a part of my life, I need to be able to explain why I do it. Not because I owe anybody else the explanation, but because I owe myself the explanation. I don't want to be doing anything that is not feeding me or valuing me right now. Like, it's not adding value to me. So it's time out for doing anything that you don't know why you're doing it. That's over with. That's over. So this is what we're talking about. So when you really get to the bottom of some of that stuff, you're able to get there. Let me tell you what you realize is that once you get to the bottom of it, you'll realize that thing will move on its own. You don't have to worry about moving it. Now that thing is gone because it's no longer something that you had to get around. It's going to move once you get clear about having only the necessary things. When I go on a hike, I would be crazy to go on this hike with 5-inch heels, with my purse, with my earrings on, walking out there with a big old dress on. I would be crazy to go out there like that. And guess what? Parts of the way, I'm going to see myself taking off the heels, taking this off. And why do you come out here like that? Because I like to be pretty. Well, the reality is that you need to only go on this journey with what's necessary, because anything extra will hold you down or weigh you down, and it's going to make this journey longer and harder. So you need to kind of, that's why you detox in the beginning. That's why the detox, the deconstruction was necessary. Now you're here and you have the things you think you need to have on you already, but then guess what? There's going to be roadblocks that pop up. And I don't want you to be discouraged, and I don't want you to stop, and I don't want you to say, well, that's why I shouldn't have went this way. No, it's still for you to get through those roadblocks and not be scared of it, just to be able to say, okay, you know what? This keeps coming up. This is bigger than anything else. Why is it bigger? So reason is bigger. Let's get to the bottom of it. And then when you get to the bottom of it, then you'll realize, oh, that thing just moved. Okay, now I can get around it. Now I can keep going. And now I don't have to worry about this thing coming up later in my journey, because guess what? It already came up and I addressed it. So, just something for y'all to think about. It's a good way to understand who you are a little better. And Mama Pat, you said that's a good way to understand who you are a little better. Yeah, I mean, this is the work, guys. This is the work. I used to think that if you went to therapy or something, that you would go there and instantly you'll be good. But I realized that that's literally only the first part. This is the same thing about when you get married. Like literally, you did not arrive because you got married. So I'm tired of people talking like that. When I hear married people talk like that, I just get concerned. Sorry, not being judged, but that's what it is. If you talk to any vetted married couple, they're going to let you know that the marriage is just the beginning. And what you think you know, you don't even know yet. And that this is a journey that you signed up with the person that you're with. And now starts the real journey, right? And so it's the same thing. When you start this, you don't go there like you have it all figured out. You don't start this like you know what's going on, but you literally go through it to try to figure out what you're going through, and it's gonna get hard, and it's gonna be work. When you go on a hike, you're gonna get through you're gonna step on some uneven paths, and you're gonna step on a leaf or two and possibly slip on it on a branch, or come to a roadblock. Something might be in your way, and now you got to figure out, or maybe it starts raining really bad. Like there are things that are coming in the way of your journey, but instead of turning back around and saying, nope, not doing this, the reality is that it's worth going through the lens. And I'm trying to show you a better way to encounter the roadblocks, because some of you might not have a roadblock for like 3/4 of the way into your journey. Some of y'all you're gonna have a roadblock as soon as you start. You know why? Because figuring out the best part of you, or who you really are, there's warfare around it. There's definitely warfare around it, and it's definitely it's going to be all type of things that come up. And I think that if it was easy, everybody would know who they are, but it takes intentional effort and energy. And so if you're willing to go through the fight, understand that it's just like working out. When you first work out, it hurts, and it's gonna make you sore. You're not going to feel like doing it, but the more you do it, you'll get better. And if you stop going to the gym after the first time, then you really didn't accomplish anything, right? I'm talking to myself too. Realizing that, you know what, this is gonna hurt. I'm gonna be sore for a few days, but the payoff is much better than the uncomfortability in this moment, right? The discomfort in this moment. So I hope that I explained that well. I hope that I got you guys to see about dropping some of these things, or what to do when we get to a roadblock, and understanding just the things that we have to really get to the root of, and in order for us to get further. And again, I know one of my roadblocks was the mind, but I don't think I'm alone in that. And so I want everybody to look at the mind thing. The mind is a powerful, powerful thing. And if you are overthinking, here's a good way to know if you're overthinking something. If you ever try to meditate and you can't meditate, and your mind is going 100 miles an hour, and you just and you cannot quiet yourself, and you find it really hard to concentrate and focus, and you just always kind of like a dog Like you hear noise and you move, and you just can never really just quiet yourself and focus to get further and to get somewhere, and you find yourself starting and stopping. Most times you have a thing about overthinking. Okay? You have a thing with overthinking. Your brain is moving so fast, you're processing so much information that you're not able to quiet down. Like I can have my eyes closed, my house can be completely quiet. And if I wake up, my mind literally it wakes up and it's just like it's like a computer that's crunching numbers. It might have was, you know how the stock tickers are? Like that's how my brain is just. I'm not trying to sound deep. I'm just telling you, it's annoying to me because I might get up and try to pray. I might try to get up and meditate and think about my day, and my mind just starts going about all the things I have to do, all the stuff I have to get done. And I find it so stressful when it does that. And so I have to be super intentional. It took me a long time to even figure out how to quiet that down. But if your mind is ever like that, if that's you, I trust me, that's a problem. And you have to get that under control. And I'm only saying it's a problem in that if you overthink like that, you're not going to be able to, it's this journey, this flow, this process, this movement, it's not going to feel natural for you because you're going to overthink your processes and you're going to stop. And it's going to be like, with the hoarders, when they get help, when they get help, they have people there to help them. They're like, okay, we're going to throw this away. And you know what's always messed up? It's always the person who's trying to get rid of stuff that's like, I don't really want to get rid of that. I think I can use this again. No, I'm not going to throw this away. And they're like, ma'am, you said you got this calendar 30 years ago. It's a sorry. It's a calendar from 1980. I don't think you need this calendar. But I could probably use it again. And a lot of that back and forth slows down progress to a halt. And if you see them, they get so mad with them sometimes because they like, man, if I take something away and you're trying to keep it, we're never going to get farther. Now they give them some things like, okay, you can keep that. You can keep this or you can keep that. But most stuff is the whole goal is to get rid of things. And then it's not just in that moment where they're trying to get rid of all the trash and the junk and that help. It's also teaching them, getting to the bottom to what kept them from holding on to all that stuff. What was the trauma that held on? That's why they always have a psychiatrist out there to work with them. So they got to get to the bottom of that and start the work. And then also the maintenance of not just the area, but the maintenance of making sure you don't go back to the old habit of doing what was familiar, right? So, yeah, I hope that was helpful, guys. I really, really hope it was helpful. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Anybody else got any thoughts on that? Tracy, you said, I get it all too well. Listen, we all been there. And I think we all have parts of this that's real. And so just back to Reggie said, how often do we reassess and go down this regularly? As regularly as you have the energy to, because let me be clear, this is not something that is easy by any means. But I really do believe that this journey never stops. I just think that there are different stages of who we are, and who I was 20 years ago is not who I am today. The way I'm going right now, who I was a year ago, I'm not today. Who I was 6 months ago, I'm not today. And that should be your testimony. You should be ever evolving and changing. Okay? You should ever be trying to be the best version of you. And if you find yourself stuck, then you're at a roadblock, baby. You're at a roadblock and you don't know what to do. And you just stood there. And that's okay. No condemnation. But I'm here to help you figure out what to do to get past it. And the easiest thing to do past it is to get to the bare minimum. Strip it down to the foundation. Figure out why you're there. What's holding you there. And what you can do to get around it. Okay? So this was great, guys. Please share this with somebody. Not because I need to be seen, but because I know this will help somebody. Identity is one of those topics that everybody can relate to. And my goal is just to help somebody to figure out, listen, identity is the difference between you building legacy and not building legacy. You wanted to be here or not wanting to be here. It's going to help. So just share with somebody. You never know. And if you are just coming on now, I'm getting off. But you can watch the replay. The replay is always on. And like I always say, you are enough. You see my shirt? You are enough. Because you are. And you're enough to invest the time and energy to go through this process. I believe in you. And I feel like I need to say that until you start to believe you're enough. You don't believe you're worthy. You don't think you're worth the fuss, but I do. I believe you're worth it. So go ahead and out here and start the process. Get you guys a journal. Write this stuff down. Walk through this thing. Keep a journal so you can see how far you're going. It's going to amaze you. It's going to be amazing. All right, guys. I will see you guys Thursday. You already know how we do it. In the meantime, have a good rest of your week. Love you guys.